If you feel like you are stuck, living life in autopilot, going through the motions, drifting through life, same shit, different day, you are not alone. Today, I'm going to help you understand how you got into autopilot, but more importantly, how to break free and create a better future. Here's how this came about. Last week, I had a call with an individual who came to me for coaching, and he has been stuck. He's a high achiever, but he knows he's meant for more. He knows he's not reaching his full potential. And here are his pain points, which you might relate to. He has been stuck going through the motions for the past 18 months. He lacks clarity, he lacks focus, he needs accountability. He's literally just drifting, going through life's motions. I've also been there, and so today I want to help you break free from living in autopilot so you can get unstuck for good. The first step to creating change in your life is always awareness. So let's start there. This first step about awareness, you have to become aware of what's going on underneath the surface. So what I want to break down and explain for you is mental programming, how you created your results up until today, but more importantly, how do you close the gap from where you are to the life you could be living, the health that you really want, the financial abundance, the lover, the success, the happiness, the freedom. I want to help you close that gap. So we have to start here. You have to become aware of the thoughts, emotions, and habits that aren't serving you. So let's dive into the idea of mental programming and understand what's running the show. So 5% of your mental programming, this is your conscious mind. And your conscious mind is your analytical, logical, reasoning mind. It's also your wishes, your goals, and desires. So that's only 5% of the picture. So for example, have you ever wanted better health, but you end up self-sabotaging or procrastinating? Have you ever wanted financial abundance and freedom, but no matter what you do, you can't create change? It's because you have internal resistance, your conscious mind, 5% wanting change, going against 95% of your operating system. So this is where we really have to get into, and it's your subconscious mind. So 95% running the show, the operating system, is your subconscious mind. That is why you feel stuck in autopilot, because you literally are 95% of this is running in the background. But 95%, your subconscious mind, are your habits, your emotional states, your memories, and your beliefs, to name a few. This is what's going on. So if you don't become aware of the emotional states, always feeling worry or doubt or stress, if you don't become aware of your limiting beliefs running the show, I think of these as weeds in your mental garden. You have to become aware of these. And what I really do in my coaching program, we don't mow the weeds. We don't just try to make the surface look better. We get down to the root cause. It's about pulling the weeds and planting new seeds in order to harvest or get the results you actually want. So you have to understand this full picture. Now this, your mental programming, so let's write that out. This is mental programming. You have to become aware of what's going on. And this is really easy to figure out. Actually, I'm gonna steal a quote from Dr. Bruce Lipton. Dr. Bruce Lipton says, your life is a printout of your subconscious programming. So that's all you have to look at. Look at your current results. Look at the dollar amount in your bank account. That's a reflection of your mindset and your self-worth, your self-image. Look at your health. Look at your relationships. Look at your success in life. Your life, your current results are a printout. They are showing you what's going on 95% in your subconscious mind. Let's backtrack it just a little bit, because much of this was formed at a very young age before you had your analytical, logical faculty. You think of it like a sponge. You took in everything as fact. You had no filters. So from birth up until about age 7, you are primarily in theta brainwave state. So I'm going to put this up on the screen. But your different brainwave states, I want you to understand that theta brainwave state is, think of it as self-hypnosis. And from those early formative years, birth up until about age 7, you're primarily in theta hypnosis, taking in everything as fact. So you learned from mom and dad and community and culture and your environment, belief systems, emotional states, and habits based on all of our major life buckets: health, wealth, relationships, and happiness, and more. You learned it all from other people. Think about, a young child, a toddler, they're literally a parrot. They repeat and say and do everything that they witness and observe. So much of this 95% was formed at an early age. Now, we're not blaming your parents and environment and community and culture. They did the best they could with what they had at the time. But now your responsibility, if you're not happy and fulfilled, is to become aware and then, more importantly, shift it, change it. So now let's talk about step number 2 here in creating change in life. Step number 2 is having a clear aim. So the individual I spoke with last week, been stuck, going through the motions in autopilot, lacks clarity, focus, and needs accountability. So he has no self-leadership. And what I find is individuals who are stuck drifting and going through life, dwelling on the past, beating themselves up, lack clarity. They lack focus. And when your mind doesn't have a target, all it can do is keep dwelling on the past. So step number 1, you have to become aware of what's going on. Step number 2, it is really creating that clear aim. So here's what I want to offer you before we go forward. If you find yourself in this position and you are ready to fast track where you are to the life you could be living, I provide one-on-one coaching. I will include a link below, and you can also apply directly on my website, heatherhakes.com. It's an 8-week program that I take my clients through how to get unstuck and reinvent yourself. Think version 2.0, so you stop living in autopilot, so that you have the health, wealth, love, and success you actually want, that you reach your full potential. So again, I'll include the link below for one-on-one coaching. So step number 2, you have to have a clear aim, despite your current circumstances. No matter what's currently going on in your operating system, because the good news is you can rewire it. You have the power to reprogram it using your conscious mind, and I will walk you through that. But you need an aim. What do you want in all of those major life buckets? What's the dollar amount look like? What's the lifestyle? What's the home you live in, the partner, the business, the career? What do you want? Step number 3, and this is really important, which most people trip up on, comes down to application. You have to apply what you learn. Think about it as like doing the mental reps. It's the daily disciplines. And so, think about this. Did you know 92% of people that set a New Year's goal in January fail? 92% of people might have a clear aim, make more money, invest, go on a travel, get in a relationship, lose the weight, but 92% of people fail. Why? They're not upgrading the operating system. And once you understand that your identity is creating your reality, which we're going to move into now, your identity is creating your reality. So if you don't change the operating system, if you don't rewire your subconscious mind, you're going to keep getting the same outputs because your inputs aren't changing. Life is a reflection. Life is mirroring and giving you feedback based on your state of being, your identity. So if you want to be part of the very small percentage that actually excels and succeeds in what they go after, here's what you have to put into play. So let's get into the idea of reinventing yourself, because that's what it really comes down to. The current version of you, the current mindset that you're at, the current level of consciousness isn't going to get you to where you want to go. Einstein said something to the effect of, you can't solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. So wherever you're at in life, you can't create the change you seek based on the same identity that created those results. So now let's get into this idea of identity shifting. And it is what I coach my clients to, creating that version 2.0. So now that you understand mental programming, and that 95% your subconscious mind is running the show, how do you use your conscious mind, that 5%, to rewire the subconscious so you get what you want in your life? So here's what you have to understand. Your identity equals your reality. That's it. And your identity is made up of three things. So let's write those out. Your identity is equal to your emotions. Let's start. Your identity is equal to your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Now let me explain these. You have more than 60,000 thoughts every single day, and 90% of your daily thoughts are in repeat from yesterday. So just to understand that, right? That's why awareness is so important. Self-awareness is everything because it is on autopilot. You are thinking the same thoughts. So you have 60,000 plus thoughts a day. 90% are repetitive from the day before, and 80% of our daily thoughts tend to be negative. 80% of our mentality tends to be negative, tends to focus on what's not working, tends to focus on problems. So if you're only using 5% of your mind trying to go against 95% what's going on, it's going to be an uphill battle. You're not going to create the change that you want. So you have to understand this. The baseline. This is what's currently going on until you start becoming mindful and intentional. So it's our thoughts that create our emotions, our emotional states, and our emotional states that drive our behaviors. So for example, if you're feeling doubt, worried, you're living in high stress, overwhelm, it leads to habits like procrastination, scrolling, right? We're numbing out. So I'll write scrolling, and then I'll actually write our vices. And we all have vices. My greatest vices were travel and shopping because as long as I was distracted, I couldn't fail. That's a whole nother video. I'll get into that another day. But here's what I want you to understand. These three pieces are driving everything. They create your identity, and it's your identity, your state of being, how you are showing up every single day based on your thoughts, emotions, and actions that then create your reality. So let's reverse engineer this. I don't want this to be complicated. We actually can make it pretty simple. Now, I'm not saying it's easy at first because you have to build those daily disciplines. You have to overcome 95% of you, but the good news is you can. Through repetition and consistency, you can create any reality that you choose. So let's get to it. The idea of reinventing yourself, which is what you have to do. We have to create version 2.0. Now this is when we're getting into that aim piece, right? So we've gotten awareness, you understand your current baseline, your current identity, and then you have to create that aim. What do you want? Once you know what you want, here's what it comes down to. Because if these three things are creating your reality and giving you your current results, you have to realize in order to get new results, a new reality, new outputs, you have to change your habitual thoughts, emotions, and actions. So for example, this guy that came to me last week who has been stuck, so let's talk about him. He's been stuck for 18 months or longer. He's been stuck for 18 months. He lacks clarity, focus, beating himself up, so he's in doubt, self-sabotage. These traits aren't going to give him his full potential, and that's what he wants. He has this inner knowing, I am meant for more, I want to reach my full potential. So he is a high achiever, he is driven, and he is ambitious, but where he's currently at, his current identity, his current state of being is never going to get him there. So let's look at these. The opposite of these, in order to create a new identity, is simply becoming aware. Okay, so I've been stuck, I lack clarity, focus, I'm full of doubt and self-sabotage. Okay, now let's envision this version 2.0. Despite where you're currently at, and this is where I want you to get clear. Do this work, write this down. What thoughts, emotions, and habits aren't serving you? And then you have to get clear, okay, the next version of me, in order to reinvent myself, that 2.0, What thoughts, emotions, and actions would I need to have? So, what would he need to have to create a new reality? He would need to have clarity. He needs focus. He needs consistency, self-leadership, because he was really seeking accountability, etc. That's just to name a few. But these are the non-negotiables. You have to understand, what is that next version of you look like? What are your thoughts, emotions, and actions? And then you have to set up these daily disciplines to get you there. And in order to create a new identity and give you the results you want, you have to put this into play with daily disciplines. So in order to beat those 92% of people that quit on themselves, that self-sabotage, you have to be in it for the long game. And that's what this really comes down to. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to give you some ideas that you can put into play for these daily disciplines, because that's everything. So as I talked about, that first step to creating change in life is awareness. You're becoming aware of your current identity, your current thoughts, emotions, and habits. Step number 2 is creating that clear aim. Despite where you're currently at, what do you want? And then I told you step 3 is about application, those daily disciplines. So I want to help you get started in this process. What daily disciplines will get you from where you're at to the life you could be living? How do you close this gap? Now, it is not about doing more. I am 100% not saying you need to hustle and grind and work harder and really effort, because that's what a lot of people are doing, and they're not getting any further in life because they're coming from stress and a lack mentality. And that energetic body will never get you there. But here's what will. It really just comes down to self-discipline. It really comes down to 2 things. In order to create the change that you seek, in order to get unstuck for good, you have to understand these daily disciplines. You have to have mental and emotional discipline. Because here's the thing. When you allow doubt, stress, worry to take over, now it becomes the master. Now, in order to create mental and emotional discipline, think of it as like having daily check-ins. So I'm gonna offer you how to do this each day. In order to create this mental, emotional discipline, I highly recommend doing this. Step number 1, you have to have a morning ritual. Now, this can look different. Figure out what works for you. But what I'm talking about here is breath work, meditation, movement, visualizing, watching a mind movie, whatever it is. You have to do it first thing in the morning, before you look at your phone, before you check email, before you get out of bed, because then you fall into autopilot. If you're not being mindful and intentional first thing in the day, you can only and always default back to the old state of being. So the first thing, in order to create these daily disciplines, you have to have a morning ritual. Again, I offered breath work, meditation, movement, visualizing, like that mind movie. It's prepping your mind. It's getting you in the right state of being. You have to do this first. Now, throughout your day, you can have check-ins. And here's what I do. I have 5, it's at least 5. Yeah, I have 5 alarms on my phone throughout the day. And these are just 15-second breaks in the action. But these alarms throughout my day have a mantra or affirmation to just, it's a check-in, right? It's checking in. Am I being who I want to be in order to get what I want to have? So have daily check-ins. And again, I have 5 alarms on my day throughout the day. The final one is an evening reflection. Now, I recommend these 3 things at a bare minimum. Really deep dive frameworks and the blueprint how to do this with my coaching clients. But as a minimum, I want you to take away this. In order to shift your identity and create a new reality, you have to have this mental and emotional discipline. And how you do that is through repetition and consistency with these daily practices. Morning ritual, throughout the day check-ins, and an evening reflection. And it can be as simple as, how did I do today? Celebrate your wins along the way. What are you grateful for? And set an intention for the next day. That way you're bookending your day. You're staying in control. You're learning how to master self, and that's how you master reality. Let me know what questions you have. Make sure you drop them below. Thanks for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you're the first to know when new videos drop. And give me a thumbs up. I'll catch you on the next one.